This is Jim Mitchell, and we're back for another episode of Libertarian Uncensored podcast. Let's see what we got today. Twitter has suspended the accounts of prominent Tesla and Elon Musk critic, Plainsight founder Aaron Greenspan from CNBC.com by Donald K. And let's see what that is. Yeah. I don't know. I think, there might be something that's more that meets the eye here, but, I definitely do think that, Elon is going against free speech principle. I did say that he can set up, but, it is Reddit, narrative is much more important than context, I would say. A fight over the right to repair his car takes the wild current from Wired.com by her and I think if people want to have a right to repair, I think if the company wants to have the right to repair, they should be able to. I don't think they should be forced to. So that's my thoughts for that. Yeah. Immigrants can't naturalize if they own a marijuana dispensary, court says from Reason.com. I disagree with that. I think if anyone should be able to naturalize if they want to, even if they have committed violent crime in the past, I would say. If they want to naturalize them, they should be able to. That's my thoughts there. Confused TikTok mom asks for help when random child comes over to play with her kid. We have denormalized and even criminalized the idea of kids being out and about on their own. That's from Reason.com by her. I'd agree with that. Kids these days, people are very helicopter parents and you can't really do anything on your own, and that's kind of sad, and I'd agree with that, yeah. I personally would say the TikTok characters, I won't be surprised most of them were parody actors paid by the Chinese Russian governments to spread divisive content as well. Speaking of TikTok there. Representative Porter reintroduces legislation to show Americans how Congress members spend their time from porterhouse.gov. And I think if the representatives want to publish that, I think they should be able to. I don't think they should be forced to do so, because I would like to know how they spend their time, but I don't think people should be forced to do so if they aren't violating the NAP. So that's my thoughts there. Affirmative action in U.S. universities is unfair, not least to Asian Americans, from scmp.com by Ruin My Circle Jerk. And I'd agree with that. A lot of, yeah. Yeah, a lot of, yeah, I like this concept of Mizugi. Harvard University in particular has always been extremely and overtly racist. They added personality score to their admissions process so they could systemically rate Asians lower on personality, not admissions to objectively better scores in other categories. So I agree with that. The thing is that affirmative action is racist, and I think we need to get rid of it. I think if private schools want to use it, I personally think they should be able to, but I definitely think it is something that is innately racist and we should get rid of. Even if the left says it's good. Celebrating vigilante justice, Jordan Neely shoplifters from a dose of Buckley on YouTube, and I posted that. I said, I disagree with Buckley on this one. If people are violating the non-aggression principle and people want to take actions to stop them, I think they should be able to do so. Fuck around and just find out, as the old saying goes. Code for War. Proof of the long-standing impact of lead poisoning in Western communities from your state officer. And that is from the conspiracy theory. Anyone else feel the media is being used to brainwash people by user Eminem's daughter sucks. The media is not just about informing people of current events, it's more about indoctrinating the public. Anyone else feel this way? I'd agree with that Eminem's daughter sucks there. So my thing is that that they're trying to. The media is more about pushing an agenda on anyone and on people than anything else, and I think you're increasingly seeing that as time goes on. It's always been about pushing an agenda, but it's really just increasingly obvious today, it seems. I'd agree there. As Texas swelters, local rules requiring water breaks for construction workers will soon be nullified from TexasTribune.org from Geeky username, and I personally don't think uh, uh, I personally don't think that the company should be forced to provide water breaks. They don't want to, but I do think that if they should probably be pushed to provide them. But I don't think it should be law. So I guess I kind of agree there, but I don't think. I think this is just more of an agenda post than anything, because you don't have a right to water. You don't have a right to it's like the Republicans going to get free school meals free school lunches for kids. You can't. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and it's important to realize that because everyone's labor does come at a cost, and food just doesn't fall from the sky, and neither does water. I mean, water does fall from the sky, but you just don't drink directly from the rain. That's my faults there. You're pushing conservative genocide by your logic, and they've already started by indicting the head guy in two separate cases for Michael Malice on Twitter, and I posted that. And I said, it's social media. Genocide is simply the buzzword of the day. You go numb after a while, follow the victim complex that everyone has, however justified it is. Those who think genocide themselves would be the worst thing ever would be cheering for it if it was their enemies. And, that's the thing. It's like the transgender say, "Oh, we're being genocide," and the unvaccinated say, "Oh, we're being genocide." But is some I guess the law is going to be biased against some groups to some extent, and that's just how it is. I think we need to nullify the law if we see it as unjust. If they try and arrest us for it, they can already arrest you for anything. So just gotta stand up for yourself if you think you're being wronged. A white supremacist took MDMA for a study, and it's snapped out of his beliefs. Why am I doing this from Insider.com by Motherfucking Inc. And let's see. Yeah, I don't think you should be doing MDMA, but if you want to do MDMA, I think you should be able to. But yeah, I definitely think Reddit white supremacy is kind of like different from actual white supremacy. It reminds me of how this is a post from the white people Twitter subreddit a few days ago where it's like it was a tweet from Hillary Agro. She tweeted, "During my research, I interviewed a guy who said he was libertarian until he did MDMA and realized other people have feelings. That's pretty much the best libertarians I've ever heard." And that's the thing is that if you question the DNC at all, you're going to be labeled a fascist. I think most Redditors can tell the difference between libertarianism, white supremacy, fascism. I think they think everything's fascism as long as it disagrees with the DNC narrative, I would say. I'm friending America. The Christian right is coming for the enemies of God, like you and me, from Salon.com by Ninja Lover. And I think I said Reddit fearmongering about Christians using a Salon article. This website really doesn't ever change. You can see why our atheism used to be a default subreddit. And not to say that I don't really think the Christian right, they're probably one of the biggest problems of the Republican Party, but their influence has clearly been declining. The GOP nominated guy who seems to know next to nothing about Christianity for his last two presidential nominations, and even nominated Muslim in my state for the U.S. Senate last year. If anything, I think the Christian left is slowly becoming the more influential one of all the churches I see flying pride and BLM flags, and that isn't even mentioning how our society as a whole is becoming increasingly populated by agnostics and atheists. It's not that I don't view the Christian nationalism as a threat to liberty, but I think it's clearly declining in influence, and social media is a big reason as to why. And yeah, so one of the guys who responded to me is a Satanist, so I have to go show you why it's what subreddit is. It's like they think Satanism is completely fine, but yeah. I think, believe whatever you want to as long as you don't violate the NAP, but I'm a libertarian after all. But, I think, increasingly that the Christians are, I would say, are the ones that people go after more than anything else, even if they keep to themselves. People just don't like Christians because it's the media. The media says so. The media says they're bad. That's why I used to not like Richard Dawkins when I was a kid because he thought he was better than everyone else for being an atheist. And you see a lot of that in Redditors as well. And that's why I think you see a lot of the woke stuff come out of the atheist community eventually, of the elevator gate and all that, because they want to believe in something, and that's why wokeism is I think the predominant authoritarian ideology these days that we increasingly see justified. Ron DeSantis, I'll purge FBI on day one of my presidency from telegraph.co.uk. And that is, uh, I said purging isn't enough, get rid of it entirely. The thing is that The FBI itself is corrupt, as is all government. That's why I want to make government voluntary so people are not forced to interact with it. I think consent should be given or taken away, be able to be given or taken away at any second. I think as long as the NAP is not being violated, people should be able to do whatever they want to without government overreach, as taxes or zoning. If people want a government with those, they're free to have them, but they shouldn't force other people to view said government as legitimate as well. I think the problem is we have only one government and you're forced to view it as legitimate, or else my ideal system, everyone would have their own governments that they choose to support. And if people want to form collectives, I think they should be able to. But forced collectivism is what I'm against. If people want to be collectivists, I think they should be able to. But I don't think people should be forced to be collectivists, and that's what we have right now. Can someone translate into English by Donald Key? And that's a true from real Donald Trump on True Social. Well, it's happened just as I predicted. The golden goose that was so beautiful is being slaughtered by fools. MAGA has left Fox for more promising prairies. Long live the king. The only solution for Fox News is to bring back Trump, allies, and MAGA backing no personality. Ron DeSanctimonious has been a disaster. I think that's just him being, oh, Fox News isn't worshiping me enough. I say, agrees this comment by in reality, all the corrupt servants Biden and Trump have to pledge loyalty to global aristocrats publicly. That's what like Trump said what he did about the king. Biden said along with the queen recently, speech to show loyalty. All of them serve the elite. I agree with that. There's the elite are the ones who are controlling everyone thing, and they're in the shadows. If you think Biden or Trump are really running the show, you don't really know what's going on. That's my opinion there. Using a loophole, Seward County seizes millions from motorists without convicting them of crimes by Legio X. And I'd agree that's civil loss of forfeiture being an government overreach. I'd agree there. Mike Pence may have inadvertently protected abortion rights in Indiana from RollingStone.com by Clorox. And that's the government for you. Sometimes they're so incompetent they do what's against their own best interest. That's how government works, I guess. Noam Chomsky on language, left libertarianism in progress, from conversations with Tyler.com by Harumph. Noam Chomsky is interesting. Of his Epstein ties. I think I think he's got some good on free speech, but he's got a lot of problems. So does left libertarianism, I would say. Since I think a lot of left libertarianism is inherently collectivist, and they want to force that collectivism on other people. So that's my thoughts there. I would think right libertarians kind of collectivists as well. How corporations, how big corporations they have, and corporations are inherently collectivist as well. Before there was Christian nationalism, there was Christian anarchism from Reason.com by Harumph, and that is, I agree, much more with the latter than the former. God never gave the world's governments legitimacy, so why should I be forced to if I'm not violating that? New political party trying to disrupt Texas politics from WFA.com by Harumph, and that is about the Forward Party. And I personally think the Forward Party, they're kind of controlled opposition like all the other parties. But I think, as long as people think for themselves and go and support them, I think they should be able to. I personally think pretty much all the parties are controlled opposition for the DNC at this point, I would say. But I think we should be standing up for ourselves and against them. Or in supporting if we don't know if we want to. Woman pressured into breast removal at 13 under erroneous belief she was transgender. Lawsuit. And from the NY Post, and I posted that. I said, leftist surgeries on minors don't happen. What about this? Lefties, it's good that they happen if they regret later. And that's them actually moving the goalpost in real time. I don't think we should be justifying non-life-saving surgeries for kids, but you do you, I guess. I think we're going to see these as lobotomies at some point, and whenever I said, oh, I'm sure people have gotten braces during they regret later, and it says because braces are the exact same thing as getting a double mastectomy. It's made you on Reddit, right? That's the thing. Reddit is like, if you disagree with the gender affirming surgery at all, it's like it's everything else, So ultimately, I really could go either way. I personally am against all these gender affirming care. I think we'll view them as lobotomies, but I agree. The parents know what is best for their children angle as well, which we use for things like circumcision. So I guess people are going to justify, and if people consider it a NAP violation, I think they should be able to use force to stop it. I guess if they feel it is a NAP violation, I would say. But I personally I would lean toward it being that violation, but I personally wouldn't justify using force unless I'm personally being attacked. I would say. The things I like are human rights. The things you like are anti-human rights. Human rights are good, therefore I do not need to debate with you. You must simply cede to my views and do what I want, or you are a bad person who opposes basic human rights. From Brad Palumbo on Twitter, and I agreed with that one. I posted that, and I said how much writers' thought processes. That's pretty much what it is. I would say, yeah. It's you can't just say food's the right and then people automatically get food. That's not what most writers seem to think, though it seems. For my transgender daughter, there are only 18 states of America, from Salon.com by Whittling Dan. I think the problem is that they're mainly pushing all the LGBTQ stuff on kids. I'm libertarian, but I don't think there's some stuff that children should not be consenting to, like sex and non-life-saving surgeries. So I think that's important to remember, and because I think they're clearly trying to push this on kids as much as possible, even if they, it's like you're not trans. It's like the story says, you're not transgender if you don't take all the hormones and surgeries. It's kind of like the medical big pharma just trying to found a new way to push its products on people, and it's using the transgender paradigm. So that's my thoughts there. What to say to someone who is a fan of Joe Rogan from TheOnion.com by Skull Whisperer. Um, I like the comment by Incorrente here. It's awfully handy to be able to dismiss anything a person says or thinks just because you hate them. It's even harder to be able to dismiss anyone who agrees with anything the person thinks is or thinks. It's Reddit though, but if Reddit labels you an enemy like Joe Rogan or Elon Musk, it doesn't matter how much they agree with you. You've been labeled as an enemy of the hive mind, and they'll come after you as such for it. So that's my thoughts there. Days of Desperation, The Diary of a Woman Forced to Flee Texas for an Abortion, from TheGuardian.com by Flimsy Out 5563. And I agree that, I personally think we should be allowing abortion as much as possible. I'm more on the pro-choice side, but if I think we should. I guess you can make the argument goes against NAP as well. So I guess you can make a good argument for both sides there. Asian American student speaks out on affirmative action. Deck is stacked against kids that look like me, from FoxNews.com by Ruin My Circle Jerk. And yeah, I agree. I agree with that. We kind of talked about that earlier, but I'd say I agree with that as well. How affirmative action is something that's inherently racist, I would say. So we're gonna wrap up there, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye.